So on my adventures to make a Guy Gardner character, custom, I got this Princess Bride character. This is it's Farm Boy, but it's also Dread Pirate Roberts. And so this is the version where he had a mask on. I don't have the head with me right now. I took it off and put it away somewhere, but this is the Dread Pirate Roberts version of Farm Boy. There is one without the mask on, and I think that's just the regular one. I can't remember what it's called though, probably Wesley or something. But anyways, I took off a belt here that he had here, and I also cut off his sword sheath, and so and the sash as well. But I'm thinking I could easily convert this into Guy Gardner from 1992. And Guy Gardner from 1992, he's like someone with a jacket. In fact, when I first saw him, I thought Guy Gardner was cool when I first saw him. I didn't even know that he was like a Green Lantern figure. But anyways, this is him. And so he has his jacket. And I used to actually think he was really cool. But I only ever really saw him in the Death of Superman comics. I didn't look at him outside of that, so I have no idea what kind of character he actually is. But I just remember when I was a kid, I was like 7 years old. I thought, that guy's cool. I like his jacket, whatever. But anyways, I'm thinking I could modify this into the same jacket. I would just have to use some putty and just work with it. And the biggest challenge here is probably the shoulders, because his jacket does stick out on the shoulders. And so my guess is I'd have to extend the torso and put a kind of covering to simulate the shoulders, and that way the actual arms under it would be in the sockets, so to speak. But then he would also be restricted from raising his arms like this. He would always have to be at an angle like that, probably, after I make the modification. And so that's the only trade-off. And I don't know, it could be a big trade-off, but I won't know until I eventually do it. The only other alternative I could think is if I bought a Biff Tannen figure. I think the Biff Tannen figure would be the significantly easier project to convert into Guy Gardner. Because Biff Tannen, he's just like, he already has the jeans and a jacket. And it would be a very small modification. But this is only $4 at the dollar store. And I just ran across it and I was like, hey, that's exactly the size I need, and it may work. Whereas Biff Tannen, you'd have to pay way more, like $30 to $40 for that character to get him right now. And like I said, I don't believe in spending too much to make these characters. That's why I'm buying characters that are like $10 to $20 and just trying to customize them into the characters I want. So I picked up this Jim Gordon Batman because I'm working on Guy Gardner, and this Jim Gordon Batman, which this is once again me buying a figure mainly just for the head, but not this head actually. This head, it came with as a swappable head, and you know, I don't know anything about, like, I think it's Jim Gordon unless I remembered it wrong, but it doesn't look like any kind of Jim Gordon I've seen. But the reason I got this is because it's supposed to be for my Guy Gardner, and so if you see here, it'll probably work really well for this Guy Gardner. And all I got to do is just kind of put in a buzz cut on the side and then put a mushroom thing up top. And then I should have a proper Guy Gardner head. And as I said earlier, I use a Dread Pirate Roberts here, who's going to be Guy Gardner. And so I'm going to make modifications to his torso. The most substantial thing I have to do is add bigger shoulders, and then redesign the whole upper part to match Guy Gardner, and hopefully everything goes well. Okay, so this is a Guy Gardner update. So far I've just been working on his jacket, and you know, it's kind of looking a bit lumpy to me. I'm not that experienced with this kind of sculpting anyways. But you know, the main issue is that it just dries so fast, and so it's kind of a hectic to kind of sculpt this thing and learning on the fly as well. So I haven't sculpted before and gotten really sharp details, and so this is seems to be the extent of my current ability. But so far what I've done is I've just added some details to the jacket, and then I think when it's dry I'm probably going to sand and maybe carve a bit more with an actual like knife, just cutting it in order to avoid it being lumpy and give it like sharp edges. The problem right now is that when I push it or move it, it pushes the clay in other areas, and so this milliput is kind of really just way too soft. And I tried to fill out some parts to his sleeve so that there's some bulk there, because right now you can still see the Dread Pirate Roberts thing. It looks like he's wearing a vest more than it is a jacket, and so I'm not really sure what to do about that, actually. I don't think I can do anything about it, because if I add too much bulk here and then too much width on his waist as well, then it gets in the way of his mobility, so he can't move his arms properly. And so it may just be a trade-off that I have to live with. But it's interesting how much he just looks like the newer costume Guy Gardner instead of the black jacket Guy Gardner. And I guess they just kept the center part of his costume the same for the most part. I wanted to pop this collar up, but milliput is very unforgiving in terms of how brittle it is. I heard there's a thing called green stuff that you can use, and when you sculpt it, it kind of dries in a rubbery way. And I don't know, maybe that's something I'll do in the future. But for now, I have this brittle stuff, and I kind of have to make it a solid piece that's a part of the character. And so this is just a trade-off. And then his hair was just this little cap on the top. Used to be something that went down to his eyebrows, and I've just been kind of shaving it off just to make it look more and more like Guy Gardner. But so far, I think it's not bad. I think it's pretty good. And, for a figure, yeah, I think it's fine. Anyways, so I finished painting and sealing my Guy Gardner. So this is the pretty much final product. So it was a Dread Pirate Roberts, and also the head is from a Jim Gordon Batman. And I put this hair on him, and I feel like it's pretty close. And it's painted now orange. It was actually hard to make this orange because apparently I don't have the right primary colors. I only buy blue, red, and yellow paint, and then I mix everything up manually. So turns out my red is a little weird, and my yellow is like a bright yellow. It's not a plain yellow. And anyways, the only issues I have with this pretty much right now is I want to add some cloth to bulk up the arms, because those are joints that are kind of thin. And then the G logo is kind of sloppy. And so those are the only two things I want to change, but for the most part it's finished. And so I don't really want to continue making another update in this. I'll just leave it here. I may change it on my own time, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I mean, that is the Guy Gardner I know. I would just bulk up his arms and jacket a little bit more.